So, welcome to the show. It's called Shooting the Shindig.
Whether you need it or not.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I really dig it what you do. I really dig it what you do.
Hello. Don't you wish you were us? This is a show called Shooting the Shindig. And boy, do we ever shoot the shindig.
I'm Eric, and I'm joined by Garr.
And we have a guest today.
Who, as soon as he gets here, will introduce himself.
His name is Steve Caton, and he will introduce himself to you right now.
Hi, I'm Steve. Why am I here?
Well, you live here. We're at Steve's house.
I mean, you're here because you know Garr, but who are you, Steve? Maybe,
Who am I?
Who is Steve Caton to Steve Caton?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about that. I surf, I play guitar, I make guitars, but I'm actually none of those things.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you surf, you play guitar,
Yes.
and you make guitars.
Yeah. But I wouldn't call myself, I wouldn't identify myself with any one of those things.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I really don't.
yeah, I mean, you're yourself first before you are a guitarist or a luthier.
I always think of these things as things that I do, but not what I am.
Is that true for everybody?
No.
No, I think people really identify themselves as something.
I think a lot of people define themselves by what they do, since it takes up so much of their life. Some because they're passionate about it, and some just because it,
Eats up their time. But, a lot of us get to a certain age and then you retire.
Well, we always meet people and we say, what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? It's funny. I walk around Lake Hollywood every morning, and I walk with this guy every day. He's Ukrainian. He's born in Ukraine, but he grew up in Argentina. And he has a real connection to Europe, and he says in Europe they don't ever ask, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's impolite, actually.
I always say, what do you do best
Yeah.
when I meet somebody?
What do you do best?
What do you do best? Because eyes light up. Because it won't necessarily be their job.
Well, yeah, that's true, yeah. Or, what do you really love to do? It's a lot of times not their job.
I try to get people to talk about something that they're very passionate about. Because even if it's something I don't give a shit about, seeing them just, effuse this emotion and just tell you all that, I don't care about woodworking. I find it a little bit interesting. I know a little bit about it. My mom, was into that. But just seeing you talk about it was really cool. I'm like, yeah, I know roughly how a guitar is assembled, but I don't,
Yeah, I don't know that I'm that passionate about it. I just...
What would define passion for you?
Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
it's not like something I dream about or just wake up in the morning and go, oh, God, another day. This is just going to be so fantastic. Planing wood. It isn't like that for me.
But isn't it like a spectrum, don't you think? You clearly are somewhat excited about this thing that you do. You liked it enough to keep doing it, and no one's making you do it.
Yeah, but then it starts turning into something, people asking you to make a guitar. And all of a sudden...
You're on the spot.
Well, it's not so much that. It either has to evolve or end. It can't just stay there in this place where it was kind of just fun to do. It becomes this more... It starts turning into an occupation in a way,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't set out to do that,
Is there a zen to tedium?
There is a zen to it. There's a repetition to it, and you can kind of get lost in that.
Yeah. I find that can be very soothing.
Yeah. Stop thinking about everything else.
Yeah. You can actually meditate.
Yeah. There's definitely that quality to it, and I enjoy that aspect.
Well, is there a meditative quality to making a guitar?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Planing.
You're just kind of getting into this, these repetitive motions and things.
Well, there is an art to it because there is the little nano.
Yeah. Instrument building, the what do you call it? The tolerances for a lot of it are very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike, like framing a house, the tolerances are huge, right?
Right.
It's like sloppy work and all that. And then you get into cabinet making and furniture making. The tolerances keep getting smaller and smaller. And the instruments building, it's very small in certain aspects of it.
Right.
You know?
Well, because you were speaking of the frets and how they can't even be
The thousandths of an inch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, the whole guitar is not tunable or not playable.
Yeah.
Steve makes beautiful guitars, and you can look at his building process on Facebook.
Yeah.
A little bit on Instagram too, right?
Steve
A
Caton,
little bit on Instagram.
C-A-T-O-N.
I don't know what it is about Instagram, but I abhor that.
I don't like it either.
That the app. I don't like the. It's something
I don't
about
like
it. I
it,
just
yeah.
do not like.
I don't like
I
it
understand that it work. It's really made for your phone, right? I think.
I almost never use it on my phone, but yeah, it is made for your phone. I usually look it up on the desktop myself, but I'm
But
kind of old school with it.
I rarely look it up on my desktop, and I do post some things on Instagram, and I find that like people are like following me that I don't know. A lot of people I don't know.
I follow you.
A lot of women, saying they like older men are following.
Well, a lot of those are probably bots, or,
Yeah.
That's who follows me on Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you have provenance.
That's right. Bring it all back to what we were saying earlier. Of the wood.
It's all the wood, yes. You're made of very fine wood.
Well, there are people that use it a lot and don't use. I use Facebook because I get my news feed on it, and I have an album a photo album for every guitar that I make.
Yeah.
And I photograph from beginning to end. I'm getting a little more laxed about it because I'm taking the same photos over and over every time I'm building a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm here. How do I make this photo a little bit more interesting?
Right.
Each time. But yeah, so I don't always get them all. But typically for every guitar I build, there's probably a couple hundred photos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In each album. So if I'm building it for someone, they can watch the whole process.
Speaking of that, did Lawrence Juber ever call you?
No, was he supposed to?
Well, I told Lawrence Juber to get a guitar from you.
Oh, yeah, well, thank you. No.
Well, I told you that I did. And then my other friend, Gonzalo, I know him as Banana.
Uh-huh.
He played on my album, too.
Okay,
He's a classical player, but he plays metal now.
Okay.
He's incredible. Just
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He's a shredder.
Yes, and I said, would you be interested in someone that could build you a custom Martin? And he said he would, so I told you.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him.
I haven't heard. Okay, I haven't heard from him. Okay,
I haven't heard from him.
so you do.
But I do keep hearing
beautiful
from
work.
people. I keep hearing from people. People who are watching this happen contact me. I've never met them or anything. And it's funny too because now people who are builders as well will contact me and ask me for advice.
How about that? How about that?
Yeah, and that's the blind leading the
Yeah.
blind.
Well, what does that say?
Yeah.
That says, I don't know what that says. I don't know if that says something about me or them. I don't know what it says.
Maybe people generally? It's kind of like what you're saying, you are who you say you are, you make guitars, they're like, oh yeah, tell me about making guitars.
I have a
That's
song
advice.
called Speak Well. I sent it to you, actually. But don't listen to that. I'll send you the one with Sky singing it. You are who you say you are. Speak well.
Oh, yeah.
So you're so in it that you don't bother to think like, look at me, I'm a luthier.
No.
But you're there.
There's clubs and, it would really bore me to tears to sit around and talk about, this stuff.
Yeah.
With a bunch of guitar builders, I just enjoy doing it,
Right.
I just
Yeah, that makes
enjoy
sense.
doing it.
Well, why not?
I just enjoy the building and, because people, I've got this problem with my guitar. You think you can repair it? And I'm like, I've never repaired a guitar in my life and I don't plan on starting. I just like building them. I like the process of building them,
Right.
The woodworking is, I enjoy.
Yeah. You should talk about the different kinds of woods that you can build a guitar with.
Yeah.
Because you were telling us about the tree.
The tree.
Tell everybody about the
tree. Well, all
tree.
the builders know about the tree.
Yeah.
The tree's an absolutely unique individual that was cut down in 1965, and it's got a grain pattern that's like none other. And because of it, it's very rare because there's only one tree, and they're running out of it. and the supply and
Honduran
the
maple?
Honduran mahogany.
Mahogany, yes.
From Bailey, what is now
British
Belize,
Honduras, I guess, in 65.
and there's no other tree like it in the world, and it's got a very unique grain, and it's very sought after. Yeah,
It was really cool looking at it.
and it is very cool looking.
And
yeah.
because it's so rare, there's
almost-
only a few sets left. Is that what you said? for
I read that
guitars?
there's like less than 200 sets left for guitar. I don't know what exactly that means. I don't know if there's blanks for turning pens or things. I don't know, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of it left. It's been around. It was cut down to 65. So yeah,
I'm surprised there's some left now.
yeah.
Well,
How big could it possibly be?
Well, the price of it is prohibitive, to say the least, right?
Sure.
So some people cut it down, and then it fell into a swamp?
It fell down into a gully, I read,
Gully, yeah.
and they couldn't get it out. The local guys couldn't get it out, so
They left it there.
they left it there, yeah. And the rumor got around that this tree was sitting there. Some guys went down and got it out at some point.
Yeah, because they had cut, did you say they cut a sample of it?
They cut into it and found that it had this very unique grain.
Yeah. They wanted it.
They thought of it. They knew that it was special, and so they got it out of there and they brought it all back to the U.S.
Yes, and how much does it go for?
A lot.
Well, it is a limited supply.
A lot. It goes for a lot. The guitars made from this, the back and side sets, typically start at between 30 and 40,000 a finished guitar,
Oh my.
and they're mostly owned by collectors, not guitar players, because guitar players can't afford them.
Right.
Most.
Right.
There's a handful that can.
You are correct.
So I have a couple sets that at some point I'll build.
Well, somebody wants you to build one for it.
Yeah. They want me to build a couple of these guitars out of it. That's down the road. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
It's going to sit here for a
Wow,
while.
those could be museum pieces.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they're I think all of them are kind of they're collectibles.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
collectors
Absolutely.
items.
What you're creating is collectibles.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what you could say. What do? I create collectibles.
That is good. Yeah.
Yeah, although that still doesn't define you. You wouldn't be like, yes, I'm a collectible.
Well, then you don't have to say much more to that. So, oh, okay.
What do? I create collectibles of any sort.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Of any sort.
Yeah.
Yes. So, on your Facebook page,
Yes.
I was saying that someone had commented about a guitar that you had posted that you had finished, and she said, "Steve, you make such beautiful guitars. What did you do before you made guitars?"
Oh, yeah.
And then you said,
I said I made multi-platinum records and did world tours.
so now talk about that.
I think she gave me the thumbs up on that.
Oh, yeah, she...
Oh, there you go.
Well,
Thanks.
that's
No.
what gets me, is like, wouldn't she, like, if she's really that curious...
That was another life. That was another lifetime
Well,
ago.
absolutely.
Of course.
But I'm talking about her now.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you like go, okay, he makes these beautiful guitars. Maybe I should Google his name?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, certainly after that comment.
See, I knew this girl a bit in high school,
Right.
and she friended me not too long ago. So she's kind of learning.
Yeah.
She's kind of
been out of the loop.
She's seen these pictures that I post and all that. So she didn't know what I had done since high school. So yeah, she was just asking, and
So Steve is also plays guitar.
yeah, I actually play the things.
And as he said, toured the world.
Well, yeah, funny thing about it, I stopped playing for about 17 years. I got all involved in my ex-wife's hobbies. And then when I started building guitars, because it came out of me building furniture and that I started building guitars. So I had to start playing again to make sure that they worked, to see if they actually
Maybe
worked.
that was the way you were getting yourself to play again.
Maybe, but it worked
Sort
out
of
that
a
way.
long way around.
So, and I got to tell you, I have to tell you, After not playing for 17 years, it wasn't like riding a bike.
That's right.
It was.
You're rusty.
I
know.
Oh God!
You get
Yeah.
rusty. Yeah.
I knew where everything was. I just couldn't get to it.
I'm at that spot.
I'm at that spot still, really.
Yeah.
You know, but.
Yeah, you get rusty.
Oh yeah, I couldn't find the space between the strings at all. And-
Really?
Oh yeah, at all. Like picking and all that, at all. Yeah, it was completely gone. Completely.
Wow.
It was pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
You know, it's come around a bit. You know, I'm not playing gigs, so when you play gigs every night,
Correct.
things happen.
Oh, yeah.
like in
You
major ways.
You get good doing that.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not doing that. But I do play every day. I play a couple hours every day, and hopefully,
You play very well. And I'm hoping that you'll play the song that you played for us on... Now, which build was that you played that?
Which what?
Which guitar is that you played for us?
That's Michael Hagg's. I call it the Arctic Burst. It's kind of midnight blue
It's
and
very
black.
pretty. It's a very pretty guitar.
It's cool looking, yeah.
Yeah, the back and sides is beautiful ebony.
Yeah. And it sounds
I think it sounds
so
amazing.
nice.
I think
Yes.
it sounds amazing. Yeah,
So Steve is going to play you a song.
but not right now.
Yeah.
You'll have to keep tuning in.
You'll have to keep tuning in. Yeah.
Well, actually, you could say, "Oh, he's going to play a song now," and then I'll record it 2 hours later. Then you splice.
You wouldn't know.
The
You'd
magic
never-
of editing.
You would never know the difference,
Never
would
know.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done things like that before. Where we listen to something and then I put it in post.
Yes, that's right.
We didn't actually have to do that with most of those.
So what do you guys? When you guys like listen back to this, you like throw most of it away.
Okay. So
about 15% away.
Oh, 15%. Well, that's pretty good average.
Yeah,
that's
or like
pretty.
us randomly talking about nonsense.
or we'll leave. We'll like go to the kitchen and get
Nowadays,
something.
I usually pause, but
Yeah.
back in the day, we would just leave it on.
We would just leave it
And
on.
that adds like 2 more seconds. I just had to figure when we left and when we came back
Yeah.
to that whole section. There's nothing.
So I have to confess that one of the first ones you posted
Yeah.
was the Shia LaBeouf thing.
And that's because it was the first one we.
And then I cringe at it now because if I were to apply for a job, I would not want to recommend the Shia LaBeouf episode.
Oh.
Only because it's just so... Oh, so, hey, this will fit in well.
Yeah.
So this... we did an episode about Shia LaBeouf's wiener.
I mean, that was one thing we talked about in that episode.
Is
The
one
entire
thing we
thing.
talked about.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I'm...
Is there something special about Shia LaBeouf's dick?
No, it's just that it was in
a movie.
Nymphomaniac.
So he's the
And then
movie
we got to talk
Nymphomaniac.
about dick pics
He's
and
got a
just-
bonerized wiener, and there's a girl, and he fucks the girl, and
Hey, all you young guys out there, don't send dick pics.
we
to-
did that.
Don't
That-
send dick
Yeah,
pics to
exactly.
chicks. They don't
They
like
don't
it.
want 'em. Yep, that's-
They don't like
This
it.
is so bizarre, Steve. This is exactly what we talked about on that episode, because we were going, don't
And
send
we went
dick
into the
pics.
psychology of why they want to send it and why women don't.
And, yeah, we went into a whole thing.
They're
Like,
so
what,
proud of it.
they're so proud of it. They want to show everybody. Look.
They want them to sort of pat them on the head and be like, "Oh, good boy."
No,
nice
but
wiener.
and it's so self-absorbed because it's like
Of course.
nobody cares. Even the guys that kind of would, I guess. I don't know.
Gay guys like it.
No, but you know.
Yeah, so I asked my gay friends, and they said, "Yeah, we like looking
Oh,
at
they
dick
like
pics."
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're
Well,
men.
That's guys.
They're
interesting
men,
guys.
yes.
So you know, the guy sexuality just gets to.
But women are not visually oriented in the way that guys are.
No.
And the things that guys get, think like, "Oh, I like looking at boobs." All right, so like women want to look at my dick, and they're like, "No, that's not what they want to look at.
No.
They look at like your like face and like your chest
And your bank account.
and your bank account."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could be like, well, remember that guy Tom Likas who used to be on the radio?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
would say now the women, they love the body. They love the body. Now translated, now women, they love the money. But that was how he talked. He had that thing. So he would always talk about how the women, they love the body. He's not on it anymore because they've replaced him with a robot.
Wasn't he
Oh,
dead?
is that right? Is he dead?
Is he
No,
dead?
he's not dead.
He's not dead? Oh.
No, and they did his last show and said, don't think that this is a tragedy, that, this is how radio is becoming, and did a whole speech about that. Tom Likas, ladies and gentlemen. He lives, I think he's in Northern California.
I remember Tom Likas.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. My then wife would listen in the car on the way home, and she'd get home angry. And when he'd say, she'd say, that Tom Likas, you know what he said?
He wound her up. Huh?
Yeah, so I'd say, why do you listen to that if it's going to wind you up?
How about Paul Hendrick?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yes,
huh?
yeah.
Fantastic. There's a guy next door, like he bought the whole thing, fishing the hook, what do you call it, hook and line.
Yeah.
He bought the whole thing. And my friend was telling him, it's like, no, man, it's a put on. Because no way, And I came over and we were talking about it. I said, Scott, man, it's not real, dude. It's
How about that? Yeah.
He was great.
So herein lies the thing that annoys you and I, is the Trump thing with followers.
Yeah.
That they're buying the stuff, hook, line, and sinker. Yes.
They're buying the act.
And it makes me think of P.T. Barnum with their
that's
sucker born every minute.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's like it's always going to be that. It's like our flaw.
What I
flaw.
can't understand is that he's so transparent. I just can't understand how someone cannot see that.
I can't either.
It's so out in the open.
They don't care. They're not trying to
Well, it's like your friend. He bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but Paul Hendrick, he's actually trying to pull. He does a good job. I remember he's always like Korean War veteran. Do you remember? he did a thing about Beanie Babies and just crazy stuff. He's really good. Yeah.
But he knew he was fucking with people.
Well, it was an act.
It was an act, yeah.
And him and his producer did this thing. Yeah, it was all fake, yeah.
I want to do a show like that.
That's fantastic.
We were talking earlier about conspiracies, and we should start our own.
We should do an episode where we just do conspiracy theories.
Like do a whole episode where we'll tell everybody, we're going to start these crazy, and if you could think of any, send your cards and letters. And
the thing is, if someone doesn't catch the intro, they're going to think that shit's real.
Someone will clip it, and they'll be like, oh, what?
Yeah, they'll start passing around like one little snippet of it.
And then all of a sudden, we'll hear our own conspiracy theories, and people being like, did you hear the...
Yeah, and you know what? You'd say, hey, I'm the one who created this. You wouldn't be able to talk to people out of it.
You wouldn't talk them out of it.
Yeah, you say, I made this up. No way, dude. Like, you'd never...
No. But that would be fun.
It'd be fun, funny, and dangerous.
It'd be dangerous. Well, just don't point out anything dangerous. It's better than whatever the fuck they're currently believing about the flat Earth and 9/11 and whatever.
We can say anything we want. Fuzzy bunnies and things like that.
I can go for another one, Garr.
Flat Earth.
Okay, so what we're going to do is...
None the wiser.
None the wiser. Nobody will be the wiser because we're selling them the conspiracy.
That's right.
So...
The moon's not made of cheese.
It's such a basic psychology tool, too, like controlling the masses. How religion got started to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
We want to control these people. What do we do? It started with the shaman. Oh, the shaman knows where there's thunder.
Yeah, it's the one with the most confidence in themselves is the one who leads everybody else.
Yes, right. You are who you say you are.
Yeah, there you go.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I kind of got that from the negative thing, because one time I saw this interview with the KISS guy. Gene Simmons. It was in the 80s. And he was sitting back and they were interviewing, it was like MTV or something.
Another P.T. Barnum.
Correct. And he says, yeah, I've betted over 1,000 women. And he's looking like straight at him, and the way that he was presenting himself was like, okay, that's an air of confidence. And that air of confidence gets those followers.
Oh, yeah.
But to be fair to Gene Simmons, if you'd been out on the road as much as he was,
you could have betted 1,000.
Absolutely, 1,000 would be a pretty low estimate.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Will Chamberlain also
Chamberlain
said that he betted 5 bajillion women.
10,000.
10,000, yeah.
Whatever it was.
People like to go and do the math. And like, he had to have sex with a woman every 3 days for this many years.
3 times, 3 different women.
3 different women a day.
Well,
that reminds me of JFK, who had to have sex 3 times a day, otherwise he'd get headaches.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Well,
you're such a good boy.
That's some sort of actual sex addict.
Well, I can believe that. So
yeah. Well, and he's fortunate that he looked like JFK and not like some slob.
She doesn't want to go to parties.
Yeah, sure.
She doesn't want to go to... Well, it's funny, because I hardly went to any concerts my entire life. But in the time I knew her, I went to because she used to buy concert tickets. You know, she was like I said, she was a music critic for a university paper. But she used to take me to all these concerts and things, you know, which I would have never gone to. I don't like going to concerts, especially like rock and pop concerts. Where I like going to more serious music concerts because everyone's really respectful and it's quiet and you can hear what the people are playing and so on. You know, a rock concert, someone's singing the whole night in your ear. They know half the lyrics.
That's right.
You know, everybody's standing the whole time. And it's like I said, you know, I like coming in through the back door and walking on stage. That's how I like concerts. You know, I don't like you know, it's you know what? It's like the difference between. I mean, I like doing, not watching.
Right.
Correct.
Well, like what
we were talking about earlier. Yes, at the restaurant.
Yeah, I like doing, not watching.
Well, and here we were talking about, you know, like he likes building guitars. He doesn't want to hang out with a bunch of guitar builders and talk to them about it.
Exactly.
That's correct.
And I don't want to. I don't want to watch someone build one.
No.
You know. I mean, I'm all for like getting some tips and you know.
That kind of thing.
Information from somebody who's you know, all right.
Well, it's kind of like
glean some stuff from.
You're wanting to be with people of your own ilk, and if that was how you defined yourself, because you were saying you don't really define yourself.
If somebody asked me right
something
now,
like that is
what
putting you in a box.
What are you? I don't know. You know, You know what? I always identified as a surfer.
Yeah.
And I was a better surfer than I was in anything else. By far. By far.
Wow. Yeah. That's saying something.
I was a much better surfer than it was very natural to me, and
it took to you, and you took to it.
And my passion for it was greater than anything else I've ever done. Yeah. When we were rehearsing for a tour in England or something, me and a couple guys jumped in a black cab. One night we had to go all the way across town. You know, we were going somewhere. I don't even remember where we were going, and. So I was talking a lot, like I do. And that's kind of a newer thing in life because I was always pretty quiet. You were and shy. You were quiet. Yes. Yeah. At some point, man, the floodgates just freaking opened, and you can't close them. So we're going all the way across town. The driver's like, he's listening and so on. We get to the place. He stops. He turns around. He says, "You have the most beautiful accent." I don't have an accent. No. but I do, and the thing is, anywhere outside of the country, or even within the U.S.,
of course,
people watch they watch TV shows and things in London, and that's the accent.
Yeah.
Right. So he's hearing the U.S. broadcast, and then there's someone sitting in the car who sounds like that, you know, and it is an accent. It just doesn't seem like it to me.
Yeah, me either. Because anything that deviates is an accent.
But for me, when I come, you know, I've lived in California for 9 years, almost 10. You know, you guys have an accent to me. You know, everyone out here says "ah" for all the vowels.
We do what?
The low vowel and the cop vowel and the.
You mean the what's his name?
No.
Larry Mantle.
What?
The guy on NPR.
What about him?
I always say he says, instead of his soft E's, he says soft U's.
Oh yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about.
Like instead of government, it's government.
Yeah, well, so like I would say like law, and Garr would say like law, and you would say like law, and
sauce.
You would say what?
Law.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a southern thing.
No, that's an eastern thing.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
sauce.
Yeah, sauce. Yeah.
Sauce.
Yeah, sauce.
Sauce.
No, in the south. No, yeah, not yeah.
Sauce.
It's sauce. Yeah, you sound like you're from like Nassau County, New York. No, in the south they'd say like sauce or whatever. Yes, it's almost like an ow sound. Yeah. Anyway, but over here, all of those sounds are all the same. They're all ah. Anyway, yeah. When you talk about broadcasting, there's like a Western standard and like an Eastern standard, and they're very similar, but in a couple of those little vowels,
they're a little
different.
A little bit different.
He's a linguist.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm
you know what I do? I do too, and I don't notice it in other people, and maybe they do. I swallow my tea a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that.
Garr hates that.
Like Clinton.
Caton versus Caton.
Well, I say Caton.
Yeah, Caton.
I don't say Caton.
Garr says Caton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Caton.
But
Caton.
then
I say Caton.
You know, like the new kid thing is.
And
the
you know
same.
what? You can't really argue with the person whose name it is, right?
Right, of course. Well, it's an accent.
Important. I can't stand that. Important.
Yeah, I say
Important.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to... I don't do that.
Yeah, I don't do that. Important.
I say important.
Yeah.
Important.
Important.
Yeah.
I
He
pronounce
doesn't swallow either T. He says
But I don't
he's
say. But I
important.
don't say important. Important.
Yeah,
Important.
you soften the T. So
Yeah, I soften it.
Yeah, but that's
I don't.
just
It doesn't completely
Most
disappear.
Americans do some manner of softening the T's.
Isn't that
Butter
interesting?
versus butter.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look at the French. They dropped like 10 letters at the end of a word.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because French spelling was regularized.
Like look at the word Versailles is spelled.
Yeah.
It's like what?
Yes.
Like why are all these other letters? What?
Yes.
They're not necessary.
No. No.
Which brings us to, is it pavilions or pavillon?
Pavillon.
Pavillon.
Or is it Illinois or Illinois?
Illinois.
It's interesting. I walk around Lake Hollywood every morning, and I met a guy who's, I think he's just turned 72. He's in very good shape. He's actually rated in the world as a cross trainer.
Oh, okay.
He's like 350. I mean, which is amazing when you got 8 billion people on the planet. But he was born in Ukraine. He grew up in Argentina and he moved to LA in his teens. And it's fun because his Spanish accent is from Argentina, and they say things differently
Correct.
than
Yes, they
Spanish
Yeah,
or Mexican
Yeah,
Spanish.
it's very weird.
Yeah, so it's fun hearing all the different, I guess, dialects.
And it's just the region. It's just geographic location.
Yeah.
Well, just like we were talking about the American accents.
Well,
yeah,
there's a ton of American accents, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's interesting about, you have Canada, who has a very similar, heritage and
Right.
background, evolution,
Yeah.
And I've been in bands with people over years, and I never knew that they were from Canada. And like Vancouver, they sound like they're from LA.
Yeah.
Except if they let it go, the OU sound.
Sure.
But only on some words,
About, yeah.
which is funny.
About.
About.
Yeah.
House.
Yeah.
House.
Out and about. Yeah.
Yeah.
House. Yeah. All the ones with the S's and T's and P's and K's.
Yeah, but only on some words, the OU. But if they've been here for a while and they mask it, then you don't know. And I played with this bass player from Vancouver for years. I never knew he was Canadian. I didn't know he was Canadian. Yeah.
What do we know?
Yeah.
Are we on?
Yeah. You
Okay,
said-
good. There's a Shindig YouTube channel?
Yes, you know that.
Wow. How about that?
How
We have a
about that?
YouTube channel. Éric has been very pivotal in helping me get back to being an artist again.
I try.
Well, it's been effective, and his attitude is put it out there. Somebody will like
Somebody
it.
will like it. You just gotta shoot enough shots, and then it only
Because
takes one.
I'm very perfectionist about things. You were talking about that recording. I have a song
Oh yeah.
that is, I think, I don't know, it's like the best thing I've ever done. And it's as far as not only songwriting, but production. And it's because I sent it off to a guitar player that I know who is a classical player.
Yeah.
I mean, just world-class classical
Yeah,
player.
yeah.
And he's now doing metal. That's his dream. And he's living his dream. He flies and he's just living it. So I sent it to him and I thought, okay, he's playing metal. And this song is like not metal. And I gave it to him and he turned the song into what I call noir. It's just so, I'll send it to you. He made the song. He made the, like you, I totally understand what you're saying.
You never imagined.
I never imagined.
Just like
Then I sent it off back east to this drummer. He plays in the band, the guitar player in my band plays with. And I sent him the song maybe to have the guitar player sing on it. And then he heard it and said, I love this. Can I play drums on it? And I said, absolutely. And he said, can I produce it? And I said, absolutely. And so anyway, so it's still in my voice, and I'm these days very down on that.
Okay.
Because I've always sung.
Yeah.
So I had this friend of mine who is a singer come and sing it, and it's like the sound of angels. She's not sharp, she's not flat, she's right on every single note.
And her timing.
And the way it comes out, and it was just like, you lose your breath. All I could say is, I love you so much for, you look what you've done. Anyway, so I sent it off to that. He'd already done his own mix of my song with me singing.
Okay.
And I said, here's the new vocal. So he calls me up and he says, can you send me the vocal without auto-tune? And I said, no, that's raw. That is her voice. That is it. He went, wow, I can't believe it.
Well, but that's funny. I mean, that's a funny thing because he's saying, I want the raw vocal without auto-tune. But then he finds out that...
Yeah, and then he likes it.
Yeah, then he likes it. So what was wrong with it even if it had the auto-tune? Because now you find out it doesn't have auto-tune and you like it, but it sounded the same way when you thought it had auto-tune.
It was too nice, and he thought that surely there was auto-tune involved.
Well, so-
but actually,
Nobody sees
was just
that.
like
Nobody
that.
sees that accurately.
But you see the point I'm making?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
He was thinking there's auto-tune, so he wants the raw vocal.
Yeah.
But then he finds out it is the raw vocal, then he likes
Yes.
it. But it's the same
Yes.
as when he thought it was
Correct.
auto-tune. So what's
Correct.
the original
Yes.
problem?
Yes.
Whether it had auto-tune on it or not.
That's right.
Because you end up liking it because it's...
exactly.
That's kind of I guess that's a...
it's an elitism.
it's an elitism. It's just a brain
Yeah. Yeah.
fuck.
It is a brain. It's a brain fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm trying to.
I know what you're trying to say.
It's some kind of a bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anyway, the song is
Sorry to
is
do
now
that.
the composite of all these people. It's
Yeah.
not just me anymore.
Right.
And
people
this
came
is
out
an
of different stages of
attitude
life.
that I have in old age because I would have been like, I would have
You
said,
would have had
I would have said,
control
this
over
is
it's like,
mine.
no,
This is mine.
I know you can't produce it.
Possessive.
If you're going to play drums, I'm going to have to be the
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is understandable. I mean, to a degree.
I
But
can't
know
be
what
that
you-
way anymore.
I know what you mean. You're allowing it, and you know what? The thing is, if someone ends up doing what you don't like it, you don't have to use it. It's
No.
not, it's not.
I'm the final word. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Use what you want.
They use what you want, but give them credit.
I give him credit.
Yeah.
The drums that are not on this was played by.
Yeah, that's right.
While we're thinking about this.
Okay, wait, you have to talk about surfing. Don't forget.
No, but I know.
Yeah,
Let me run outside a little while I'm thinking of it because we forgot last time. I'm on tour with Tori. You meet different fans at, various, and this one girl who I didn't have there's nothing going on. I had made this with Matt Sorm, and I took like 2,000 of them with me. And I had a guy who was following the tour anyway, so he was selling them out in the parking lot for me, And this girl, she befriended me, and she volunteered. She was going to University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
And so she volunteered to take it to the record stores around the campus, And she took one to the music critic of the university newspaper. So the critic, it ended up being kind of a Q&A thing, and she really liked it. The critic really liked it. And so the two of them ended up rooming together. The girl who was helping me, she ended up becoming friends with the critic. And I guess she ended up liking her because she liked my work, And so the girl was always like, hey, Steve's on the phone. Why don't you talk to him? Because I never talked with the critic. It was all just, over email and stuff. And she didn't want to talk to me. No, I don't want to talk to him. She never wanted to talk to me. So she finally got on the phone. We started talking. From that moment on, we talked like an hour or two every day. And I knew her for a year before I met her in person. That was my wife.
How about that?
We for a year, she was an undergrad. And then the next several years, she was in grad school. So we were long distance for 5 years. But she'd come into town like any chance she got. She'd come and visit me. And then the moment she graduated from grad school, she moved. Before she graduated, she came here, stayed here, and did interviews for jobs. So when she moved here, she had her job at Huntington Memorial Hospital, the same job she has now. 20 years later, and she moved right out of Baltimore to here. Mm-hmm. She went to University of Baltimore.
Who did?
My wife.
Oh, okay.
And she got her grad school, and because they have a lot.
She went there for both undergrad and grad.
No, she went to University of North Carolina, Greensboro.
Yeah.
That's
And
then she her undergrad, and then her grad school. She went
That's
to
romantic.
University of Baltimore, and because they have a bunch of major hospitals there.
Yeah,
sure.
So they do their rotations there.
Mm-hmm.
They.
That's romantic. And then
and you know what? She gets along with all. She's very guarded. She like anyone, my neighbors, everyone who was ever around. She says, "God, we never got to know. We never really knew her.
Yeah,
she doesn't let anyone in.
Right.
Yeah.
And me, I'm the only relationship she ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't a virgin. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
But she's
know.
I'm the only
like serious.
I'm the only
regular-
boyfriend she ever. She didn't even have like a boyfriend in high school. She used to go in the library. She was a nerd, a science nerd.
About those, now excuse me, they're like Irish, I think.
Okay.
I'm Irish too, so
And
go
their
ahead.
friend-
I'm also Irish.
and their friends.
You can
It came
say-
out last year. It was
You can call
and their
me,
friends. Is
call me a
old-
Mick. I don't care.
It's a,
I don't care about any of that. I don't care. You know what's funny? Let me butt in really quickly. Jennifer, my wife,
yeah.
she works in a hospital. A lot of the underlings are. Well, I shouldn't even say that. There are a lot of people, from all over.
Right.
There's a lot of Asians and there's Mexicans and there's everybody. And she would, of course. And she would talk to them. They would say, what it is about being white. He says, we can't say anything to you that would be insulting.
Yeah. We don't give a shit
Because
about
we don't care. We
We're
don't, because we got everything. And like if someone says, "Oh, you fucking, you fucking pasty face cracker," you laugh.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's like we don't care because we're
Well,
because
we've
we
been
haven't
the masters of
we
the
haven't been
domain.
right. We haven't been oppressed.
Yeah.
But it was a great
Yes.
way. It was a great way of explaining what the difference was. Even though they were being respected and this and that, you could say something because that's why the reason I bring it up is because I said, "Call me a Mick" or whatever. I don't care, because none of that. I don't identify with that.
Well, anyway, I couldn't remember
anyway.
whether they were Irish or it came out last year. Everybody knows. Everybody's shouting the title, but where they were friends, an old guy and a young guy, and it was the two famous actors.
Oh, this is that recent movie.
Yes.
I never saw it. It
And
takes
they don't
place
want
in
to be
Ireland.
friends anymore. He says,
Oh,
"I don't want to be
right.
friends anymore."
I've seen the trailers.
And that's what that whole
That's supposed to be a great movie, right?
Yes, it's supposed to be a great.
Inish whatever. Inish Owen or Inish whatever. Fogs of Inish Owen or some shit like that.
Came out last year.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
So do you smoke regular? You do smoke regular cigarette?
No,
A bit, not much.
Only with Garr.
Sometimes you don't smoke.
I had a girlfriend a number of years ago.
But we do smoke weed.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
both
smoke
smoke
weed.
weed. Yeah.
Yeah, Casey brought me over some.
Yeah.
He brought me over some like more than 5 years ago, and I still have it. I think I mentioned to you guys I never liked pot, even though I
that's
smoked
right,
a bit
me
of it in
too.
high school.
But we loved our Casey.
Yeah.
Oh,
R.I.P.
Yeah. Casey was great.
Yeah, I never got to meet him.
Always called up and said,
I'll tell you what. It's funny because I'm an atheist.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah, and he's a Christian. He really
he goes
is.
to that church
He-
in Colfax.
Is that the church he would go to?
Yes.
Is that the church he would go to?
Yes.
That's because that's where his his celebration of life was there. Yeah.
What's a celebration of life?
Well, when he died.
Oh, when he died, yes.
yeah.
Yes, it was there. Yes, it was there. Yeah.
And that's the church he went to.
Yeah.
He drove all the way from Pasadena all the time to go there.
I don't know. It was
But-
when we were in the area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe. But I will tell you about it. He had he never tried to get me to change or anything,
Sure.
And he was just he walked the walk. The good lessons from Christianity,
Sure.
Correct.
which are great. They're great lessons.
The gospel's pretty lit. I don't know about
they
the
are
rest
great
of the Bible,
lessons, but they also exist in every other religion.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's universal.
It
It's
exists. I always say it's common sense.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
You look at the Ten Commandments, like, no shit, you shouldn't kill.
Yeah, we were already not
You shouldn't be
gonna kill
fucking
people.
around with someone else's wife.
Yeah. You didn't need the Bible to tell you that.
Because they're going to come along with a gun and fucking blow your brains out. I mean, that's common sense stuff. And you know what? I tell people, I said, look, the golden rule, if you get that one down, you pretty much got it. You treat people the way you want to be treated, and that pretty much solves most of everything.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
Almost everything.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of Christianity is Jesus was like, 10 commandments, fuck it, 2 commandments. Love your neighbor and don't forget about God. And it's like, yeah, love your neighbors. You're loving your neighbor. You're not going to be stabbing your friend or coveting a donkey or fucking your friend's
you look
wife.
at what the whole point of religion
But it's
was
obvious.
for was, originally it was tribes and you had a shaman. And then that turned into something greater.
It was
taking drugs.
It was a way to communicate to get the masses to do what you need.
Right. It was all about
society to
reining
do.
in the
controlling the populace.
but
controlling the populace.
reining in the beast that were humans.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Correct.
Yes.
That's what it's about. I mean,
Well, and you look at Darwin, who says the only thing that is the rule for life is reproduction.
yeah,
And that's what
yeah.
everything revolves
But
around.
you know, I
reproduction.
mean, things were when people. Before this, you started having communities and
Yeah.
it's trying,
Yeah.
then having like a social system. Everyone's just going around raping the women and cloning
Correct.
each other.
We can't have that. The
We were-
village. we need to get together
we
as
were
a village.
wild. We were wild animals, right?
Okay, everybody. God tells you don't do that anymore.
But that's the thing that, like, God, all those religions tell you not to do that because that's something, we're social creatures, right? We would, fight the other tribes, but in our tribe,
Yeah.
you gather the
That's how we
berries and
keep
you
us
fight
together,
the oxen and you.
And God.
Well,
is
and that's how
gracious.
you. That's how
kids
you
and-
had a society, and
Yeah.
people survived. That's how we survived.
Survival.
We
And
have
then,
to survive each other, that's why we
then there
like
was the
language.
outsiders who were not part of
Yeah, they're
this.
different.
Correct.
And that's why
Us and
religions.
them.
It's funny, religions. It's always about the people who wrote them,
Yeah.
right?
How can it not be? Yeah.
Right? You don't say those people are the chosen ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
You say we're the chosen
except for
ones.
the Christians who are like, yeah, the Jews are the chosen ones. It's weird, but it's in our Bible.
But
God
the
chose
Christians, but the
Jews.
original Christians were Jews.
They were Jews. Yeah, exactly. Jesus was a Jew. You know,
Yeah.
and all those
And the
all
followers, all the
Yeah,
apostles,
all those
except for
guys.
one.
Yeah.
And the only reason they weren't, if you weren't Jewish, you were either like a nomad, you were like, what you call an Arab now, right?
Right.
Um,
Before they were,
yeah, and or you'd be of the same descent, but you wouldn't be baptized, so you would be a
Yeah.
Gentile, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, or you became however it
Yeah.
worked, not baptized. You became
they weren't baptized.
you became a Christian by being baptized.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I had a real funny friend of Will McGregor, the bass player who played on the Tori stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He became a pretty heavy Christian, I said, Will, it's really funny. Jesus was a Jew.
Yep.
Mary was a Jew. Joseph was a Jew.
Yeah,
all the
of
apostles were Jews.
Yep.
All the followers, the early followers of
They're all
Christ were
Jewish,
Jews.
because that's where they were.
He goes, they were baptized. And that made them, somebody dunked them in water. And
Yeah, but they were still Jewish.
They were still Jewish, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why the anti-Semitism is just, it blows my mind.
It
absolutely blows my
Well,
mind.
people are like, oh, we're mad at
Okay,
the Jews for
so-
killing Jesus, but Jesus had to die. That was the point of Jesus.
Right, that's
Jesus
the
died
story.
for our sins. Aren't you happy that
Yes,
that happened?
aren't
You
you
should
happy?
be-
And
you should
not
be thanking the Jews for
not
killing
only
him.
that, it wasn't all Jews. It was like it was
Yeah.
the aristocracy and
Yeah.
the power people.
Well, because Jesus was some sort of like communist
and they were
revolutionary.
in with it. They wanted to keep their power, and they were in with it with the Romans.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they were controlling the
Absolutely.
Jews
Roman Empire.
for the Romans.
Yeah. King
And
Herod.
it wasn't all the Jews, it was just a handful.
That's
who
right.
wanted
It was-
to keep
it
the
was
power.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
so
the
I don't know
Sanhedrin.
if you mentioned this while I was gone, but the whole rabbi thing with cleansing the cooking surfaces and not having pork or shellfish.
Yeah, sure.
That was because people were dying.
Right, they
So
didn't
it was,
know why.
It was a
They
their
didn't know
public
why.
service
God
announcement
was telling them,
was,
don't
okay,
eat pork
don't eat
because
pork.
if you do, you die.
And that was
but then you
actually-
find out, there's a parasite and you cook it, it's no longer there.
Today we would see that as a government position.
Yeah. To protect people from like disease.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And
now,
that's what that was
the
for.
right wing here would say, fuck it, I'm not going to listen to them. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
inject themselves with bleach or whatever. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
When Marjorie Taylor Greene would say, oh, this is like, what do they call it? The dark state?
No, yeah.
Deep state. Yeah.
Deep state.
It's a deep
Yes.
state trying to take our freedoms. If there was ever a deep state
Yeah.
in the U.S., it was when Trump was in office.
Yeah, correct.
Well, there's a deep state, but it's like nothing like scary. It's just
Well,
that
what
you
is-
need bureaucrats to
What-
like maintain
what-
everything.
Yeah, but that's
The
not.
people who
I
aren't
mean,
politically,
that's not
you
what they're
don't vote
talking
for.
about. The deep state is like
No,
some
I know. They spilled
conspiratorial.
it up into
But it all
something.
comes back to money.
Well, yeah. I mean,
But
well,
it's bullshit.
Okay, so we always
It's
talk
just-
about the end of capitalism, how capitalism's killing us.
capitalism's the
And
problem.
then my question always to Eric is, what will we replace it with? And I would like your
Anything.
answer.
It's
This is
a
Steve Caton, by the
it's a
way.
combination of both. See, you cannot. There are things that everyone needs.
Sure.
Right. Like water, you can't have some guy owning water and
Correct.
charging,
Exactly.
and then you say, well, capitalism, supply and demand. It's something that when everyone needs something, the whole supply and demand thing, it falls apart.
Yeah.
So
It's an inelastic need.
So anything like that should be government controlled.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you make Ferraris, that shouldn't be government controlled.
Yeah.
You don't need it. So things like water, resources.
That's socialism, young man.
No, even oil, energy.
Correct.
That should
The
be all.
internet, phones.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That you need.
Food. People need food.
Yeah.
So now, what do you make
There's a
of people
surplus of all those things.
that would take that apart? People that would just take that
Take what apart?
What we're talking about.
Which is what?
Supply and demand.
No,
Yeah,
but
but
then
supply
it's
and
no.
demand can't
It would
take
be a
away their
combination
supply.
because things that people absolutely need. People need healthcare. I got an argument with someone.
Yeah.
Oh, people don't need healthcare.
Yes,
What?
they do.
So what happens? You just die?
You just die. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, people need healthcare.
It makes
So
sense.
that
But
should
we
be
have enough
that should
of
be
all of those
regulated.
things
That should
for
be
everyone to
regulated
have.
like every fucking civilized country in the world.
Correct.
You know, resources like water, energy, and that
Yeah.
should be
We have
regulated.
enough water, we
you
have
know,
enough food,
Yeah,
we
you
have
know,
housing.
the environment should be
There should be
regulated.
no homeless people in the United States.
And then other things like tables with the freaking gold leaf on them, or that's not an
Yeah,
absolute
whatever.
need. I mean, those are things that it should be that will work in a capitalistic thing. That's supply and demand. Some people can't afford a Rolls Royce; they buy a Toyota. That's fine, right? That's capitalism.
But the problem with capitalism
But-
is that it leads to when money is the only answer, then
Well, that's
you
why
do
it has
stuff
to be
for-
heavily regulated
Sure.
because
But
the
then
only
once you're going to regulate capitalism, you might as well regulate any other number of economic systems.
Well, yeah, you have to regulate things that, for instance, pollute the world.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
In capitalism,
Because-
you pollute the world because it's cheaper.
Right. So I posted this on Facebook the other day. Somebody had posted these two pictures of L.A. And looking at, you couldn't even see the fucking city, right?
Right.
And then the second one was after
the Clean Air Act.
after the Clean Air Act and
Yeah,
all that,
I've seen that.
and the Southern Air Quality Board.
Remember when we were kids?
Oh, you used to breathe and it hurt.
Yeah, and they'd have
Used
days
to run around
when
in
they
it.
said
actually-
don't go outside.
They keep you in school.
Keep you in, yeah.
And so things like that, because if you don't regulate that, all it's just profit is all that the concern is
Yeah.
for capitalists.
Yeah.
Is profit.
Exactly.
That's it. So no, we're not going to do
'Cause
fucking
money's the
anything.
bottom line.
Hey, you know what? If you breathe and die, that's too bad. We're still making so that has to be regulated.
Yeah.
But
in order to regulate it, otherwise money gets into the politics, right? And
well, that's
and
the problem. That's the
Yeah.
The problem with capitalism is that whoever has the most money has the loudest voice.
has the most influence on the government and the regulations.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can
So that
never-
that should be taken out.
Yeah.
And this whole thing that
How do you take it out?
well, part
take out the whole thing.
part of it.
How?
Well,
With anything.
Well, for one,
Georgism. It
you shouldn't
doesn't
be
matter.
allowed to lobby. You shouldn't be able to lobby
Yeah.
Congress, and you shouldn't be allowed to
You know who
lobby
made
Congress.
that, Yeah.
You shouldn't be allowed to lobby Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you get into office by being elected by your platform.
But
okay?
what
No, wait,
about-
let me
okay,
hear it.
all
It's
right.
by your platform. If you go into office and do things that opposite of what you said, then you get voted out. So
Right.
Right,
that is how that's how you keep control of that. And you don't lobby. You don't have guys walking in and saying, "Hey, I'm going to give the RNC like $10 million if you vote against this bill."
What about the other lobby? What about the lobby for the environment, for the people?
Well, that's ideally how
Well,
you
that's
want
the
lobbies to
voting.
work.
That's the voting.
Yeah.
But those people lobby too.
That's the voting. But the voting, if you're going to let the whole place go to shit, you're going to get voted out.
so you
Right.
could outlaw lobbying.
Lobbying, yeah.
Well, lobbying wouldn't exist if we didn't have money.
And science facts should play a part in all
Of
this.
course. Well, you
Well,
and
that
I
should
know
be-
that. But
Right.
dumb people.
They're trying to get
Dumb
that
people should just
removed,
listen to the people who know
They're
better.
trying to get. I don't know if you know this. There's the Chevron law. Do you know about this? This is where Congress has handed over decision making to agencies, to the administration, and to the agencies under the administration. For instance, how much of a particular chemical should be allowed in water, right? So you have the clean, you have the water, whoever, the Environmental Protection Agency, and they do all the science and so on, and they come up with these numbers.
Yeah.
Well, the right wing this is up in the Supreme Court. They're trying to get this thrown out because they're saying the Constitution doesn't allow Congress to give away their power to create law, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking this extreme, like Congress has to vote on every one of these regulations.
Right.
They have to do it. You cannot give it away to someone else, and they may win. They may win.
Yeah.
And that they cannot get anything through Congress. What are they? How are they gonna regulate frickin' anything? they can't agree on anything. So that's
Right.
exactly what they want. That's what the
Well, that's
great
what they
capitalists want.
Yes.
They want to take all the regulatory bodies,
Yeah.
completely strip them of power.
Yeah.
So
libertarian
and then
extreme.
like, well, Congress, if it's a big deal, they'll vote a law.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to regulate. They can't. They won't
Because
regulate.
they're paid up
anything.
by the lobbyists.
That's what they're trying to do. It's
Yeah.
like the Chevron. Look it up.
Yeah.
And it's before the Supreme Court right now. And you know the Supreme Court. You know who they side with over and over and over again.
The money.
Yeah.
The money in the basket. Again, the heart of the problem.
We're like fucked.
Oh yeah, we're fucked. Yeah.
But we know how to fix it. But like the money
We can't even
more.
get Trump in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that's a whole
When it's so obvious, he did all the crimes right out in the open.
We know it.
Right out in the open.
Everybody knows.
He admits them.
Well, and he fucking makes an ass of himself in court.
And yet,
And yet,
he gets off somehow.
I dig it, I do. I dig it, I do. I really dig it, I do. I really dig it, I do. I really dig it, I do.